fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Izuku Midoriya, and well, what has happened in the course of his life? Now, just a few months before turning 18, Midoriya was shot off into space along with the Hulk and Rogue. And these three, they did land on Sakaar, where they spent half the time on the planet as slaves, and the other half liberating it and becoming a place of peace, where the way of war changed around. They were now band together, fighting off the wildlife of the planet, and trying to make peace with fellow inhabitants. Now, you do have Midoriya, who he was supposed to be killed by a bomb that was triggered on the plane or the spacecraft that brought them all here. However, the bomb killed Shayera and the Hulk's unborn child. Now, Midoriya, he knows about all of this, and he did want to head to the Earth. Now, the Hulk, because of Charles actually being there for the Illuminati meeting, has no reason to go after him. In fact, Midoriya, yeah, he's going to leave it to that boy. That already is enough for Charles to fear. Now, Midoriya, he did then fly through space back home, and it did take him about a month, as he was on the moon, and he encountered some Inhumans. As we do have roughly 20 to 15 minutes later, where Midoriya, he is just standing there as he is bent down on his knees. Him crouching down as he does hold up Black Bolt by his hair. And he does bring up his other hand to grab at his throat. Now, Midoriya does begin to put pressure down, telling Black Bolt that he knows that he can understand him. And he'll tell him one simple thing. What they did to them, the Illuminati, it was very, very messed up. Talking about how he meant to send them to a world of peace. However, he sent them to a world of war. And they spent their time as slaves. They got free. And they built something, only for it to be destroyed. Now, Midoriya does talk about how they almost murdered the Hulk, and they would have murdered him too, if he was in the capital. Midoriya then shouting at Black Bolt that over 5 million people died because of their bomb, as he does begin to start squeezing down a bit more. As you do have Medusa, who is trying to get up, her trying to drag her way over to Black Bolt, as her hair, it was turned to pure titanium, or pure lead, whichever is heavier, and she was barely even able to move. Now, Midoriya does turn to look at her, telling her that he's not planning to kill Black Bolt. Hulk still wants a word, or at least, Midoriya then squeezing in a bit more as you just look at him, a whisper. Now, Midoriya would then tell them he's not going to kill any of them either. In fact, death would be more merciful than what they have to come, as he does begin to float up into the sky. Now, with that, Midoriya does rocket down to Earth, as we do have the Warbound and the Hulk, which have currently entered the Milky Way galaxy, and will be arriving on Earth shortly. As we do cut to Charles Xavier and everyone else in the X-Mansion, as they are going over everything after the House of M. And it's a lot. With the civil war of superheroes, a lot of things are divided on how they should handle things. And then there's the mutant population, which used to be sitting around 14 million, which has been currently dropped down to a little over 250. Now, they are trying to gather their bearing. All the mutants that are here, that are still mutants, are safe within the X-Mansion. And the governments of the world are actually taking precautions to keep them safe. They are an endangered species after all. And yeah, you do have Charles who does sense something enter the atmosphere, as he was going over some notes and researching a subject. Him speaking out loud to somebody, or let's say Beast, as whenever he did feel something enter the atmosphere, he did actually turn to look away and mess up the formula he was working on. Now, this would be whenever Beast has told Charles that he messed up, and asking him if he's quite alright. To which he would just say, yes, yes he is. As he would look down at the paper with a bit of fear in his eyes, thinking for a minute that something is wrong. His plan isn't working. After the events that happened with House of M, why haven't they all listened to him yet? He's been trying to get them to go against humanity, and it's not working. The humans, instead of just lashing out at them and trying to kill them, they reached out. They extended an olive branch, and that's not what he wanted. There are humans who want them dead, but that amount is just unfathomable. It's too low. And he's currently trying to take precautions and plan things out. Since after the events of Genosha's destruction, you do have Onslaught who was born. Now, we actually do cut to Midoriya, who he is currently in New York City. And it has been about 1 hour since he arrived. Now, Midoriya, once he has arrived, he did go to a new station. Him bursting through the wall and actually looking around, as he is in his bug-like form. Now, the people who do see Midoriya are screaming. As Midoriya, he would then toss something onto the table and say that this is a message. Now, this is quite confusing, as we do have Tony Stark and a few other heroes all around the world, who they do get the broadcast. As we do cut to Tony Stark telling Jarvis to put it on the big screen. As you do see Midoriya, who's in his full-on bug form, as he's tossed a person onto the table, talking about how this man here, him then saying that this is his crimes, and this is everything he's done. He's a very, very bad man, and he's gonna do one thing simple. Midoriya then just picking him up by his hair, as the guy just scream out, and he's very scared. Midoriya then tossing him over his shoulder casually out the window. to which he would fall 10 stories to his death. Midoriya then just saying, and that is what he will do to criminals. Listen here. The world may have forgotten about me, but I haven't forgotten about it. Now, the woman next to Midoriya does ask him who he is. Him turning and looking at her, asking her if she's forgotten as well. Now, Midoriya, he does just say that this is his home. This is a place he used to know. And he wants to see what has happened to it. Now, he does go on explaining that he's found out that the mutant population is nearly destroyed. And him then listing on off the current events, talking about how it's all very, very sad and pathetic, really. Now, the woman does ask Midoriya who he is, and Midoriya doesn't say a word. Him just calling her an insolent human, and then turning and flying away. As we do have at the X Mansion, where you do have Kitty, Kirk, X-23, and all 5 of the Stepford Cuckoos, along with a lot of people who did watch the broadcast. Now, X-23, she immediately noticed what this was, or at least she did recognize it. The way those arms do look, they can't be. He's dead, isn't he? And you do have Kitty, who she was taken aback. Now, Charles Xavier immediately put the X-Men on high alert, as the Hulk has arrived on Earth, and the Warbound are all currently making their way around, as Hulk would give his broadcast. Now, the Hulk this time, instead of holding up a beaten and bloody Black Bolt, saying that this is what he's done, he would just say that this is one of his Warbound's work. Now, he would talk about how the Illuminati, or the Avengers and these people, him listing them off, saying that they all did have an unfair trial, and judgment was passed on them whenever it should not have been. They made a choice, and this is going to be the result of said choice. Now, Midoriya. He's currently walking down the street, as you do have a few mutants who are standing guard at the gates. Midoriya looking at the high wall along with the sentinels, as it does look at Midoriya and register him as a threat. Now, along with all the humans who are watching this, they do see Midoriya, as he does have a weird appearance to him, along with the way his body does look. Now, a lot of humans do begin to crowd around Midoriya, as he does simply just bring his hand back and wave it out in front of him, as a large portion of them are killed, and the Sentinels do immediately go to attack. In less than 2 minutes, Midoriya does take all of them down, and bust straight through the wall. Now, Midoriya does then walk over a Sentinel, as he would go to crush down on its head, as you do have the X-Men standing there. As Midoriya, he still does stand there in the insect form, before finally dropping it. And you do actually have Rogue who would fly up, and go to land. Her telling Midoriya that she's a bit late to the party. Yes, you are. I take it you had fun? Her holding up her hand, and showing a new power, talking about how she had to take care of some unfinished business. Good. Now, these two would begin to step forwards, as you do have Charles, who he does go to move forwards as well. Now, The X-Men do want to protect Charles. However, they don't even know how to respond to this. As Midoriya and Rogue walk up and ask him why he did it. And Charles didn't even have a legitimate answer. He just sits there, looking at these two. The way Midoriya looked compared to whenever he left, he's gained a significant mass in muscle. Along with that, the scars and the look on his face, along with the one in his eyes. It's just different. Now, Charles just told Midoriya that he did it for a good reason. To which Midoriya would just shout, "Then why the bomb?" Now, you do actually have Colossus who does go to step up and get in between Midoriya and Charles. Now, Midoriya would just tell Colossus not to get involved. This isn't his business. I doubt, young man. This sounds like my business. How are you alive? We buried you. Again? Really? Now, Midoriya would just go to step forwards, and Colossus does go to bring his hands up. However, Midoriya, he does just wave to his fingers off to the left, and Colossus is sent flying through the air. Now, every X-Men does go to rush Midoriya, as you do have Charles who immediately connects a psychic link, and the two are both standing in the mind space. As Charles does look behind Midoriya, the area where their minds would meet, the grassy fields, the plains, everything that looks like a healthy mind. It changes once it gets to Midoriya's. There's dead grass, there's barren land, there's fires. Midoriya is not in the right mind state. And he does try to tell this to him. To which Midoriya would explain, he's doing just fine. As Charles does tell him that no, he is not. And that he would like to give him something to understand. Does he remember anything after he was sent away? Now, Midoriya does just say that he's missing time. And he tried to gather it back. He's learned a few things. However, he does want to fill in the gaps. Now, Charles, yeah. He does bring his hand up to Midoriya and tell him that if he does calm down and just sit down, the two can discuss it. Now, Charles does hold out his hand, and Midoriya, he does actually go to grab it. The moment he does, he immediately does pull Charles close to him and bring his hand up to his head. As the moment that does happen, Charles does begin to fight back mentally against Midoriya, wanting to not let him get inside of his mind. Now, Midoriya forces his way in, and he does see the time he's missing. Everything Charles took out of his own head, as the two are both sent flying backwards. Now, this does catch everyone off guard, as Midoriya, he does go smashing onto the ground before standing back up, and then looking directly at Charles, understanding why he was sent away, why Charles was so scared of him. As he does look at the X-Men and tell them that that is not Charles Xavier. Now, everyone is confused, as Midoriya would just say that that is a being stronger than Charles. In fact, it's not even really human anymore, as he does go rocketing forwards. Now, you do actually have Rogue, who she did go to grab Colossus and tell him to try and calm down. Now, Colossus was confused, since Rogue immediately took on his mutant power and then socked him across the face, as she just started to grapple him, not letting him go. Now, people do try and intervene and fight these two off. Midoriya alone is dismantling the X-Men. And, well, it's quite a bit. The Stepford Cuckoo try to get into Midoriya's mind, try to talk to him. And Midoriya, he does send a feedback to them. There is Laura, who she wanted to talk with him and try and calm him down, since the two, they were in a relationship before he left. Now, Midoriya was unaware of this, and he does just tell her that this can all be solved later, as he did just send her flying away. Now, there is then Kitty and Kirk. As Midoriya is standing around the X-Men he's already dismantled, and he does look over to where Rogue is, as you do have Emma Frost, who she's going to rush at Rogue, who currently does have metal skin, a healing factor, and the powers of Captain Marvel. Now, she immediately blasts away at Emma Frost, and it does not turn out too well, since the diamond does reflect the light away and cut through a lot of areas around them. As Emma, she does go running forwards. And there is then Charles, who he's made his getaway while the X-Men were being dismantled. And he wants to put his plan into place, since if he can do that, then the X-Men will be on his side. Now, with that all being said, I do believe that this would be a good point to leave it off of, and I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.